This video is sponsored by Uscreen. Despite what you may have heard, there is no perfect formula for calculating your rates as a content creator. There are so many factors involved that aren't just the size of your audience. The niche that you're in, the size of brands that you're working with, the deliverables that you're offering, and many other factors will help determine what you could reasonably charge for a brand deal, aka what you're gonna be able to get brands to agree on. But these same struggles go beyond just setting your rates for brand deals. As content creators, we all know the importance of having multiple streams of income, and when you start introducing stuff like digital products or memberships or services or coaching, you gotta figure out how much to charge for all of that stuff too. I've definitely struggled with figuring out my pricing in the past, but through my journey as an entrepreneur, if you didn't know, I'm the founder of a small social media marketing agency called Creatorly Media. I've had a lot of practice negotiating with clients, brands, and just kind of figuring out how to price stuff so that it'll actually sell. So through that experience, I've settled on a few principles that kind of can guide your process for coming up with how much to charge for your brand deals or anything else you're doing as a content creator, and I wanted to walk you through those today. So if you are brand new to brand deals, the reality is you just need to start gathering data. There is no magic formula or cheat code for figuring out how much you should charge for brand deals, even though there are online calculators and those can give you a ballpark to get started, but it's gonna depend so much on your unique situation. Basically, everyone has a different audience size, everyone has their own specific niche, and different styles of content. All of these things are going to play a role in how much you're able to bring in for different kinds of brand deals. So the honest answer to the question of what should I charge is really, you need to just start charging something and experiment until you find your perfect number. This is the case whether you're wanting to do YouTube integration, sponsored Instagram Reels, sponsored Instagram stories, TikToks, podcast ad reads, like whatever it is, you kind of just need to set a rate and negotiate and go from there. But don't worry, I'm gonna explain the process for doing that and what I've done. Okay, so what you need to know before you understand like how I go about negotiating for brand deals and figuring out what to charge is my background is actually, I was a freelance videographer. That's what I was doing before I went full-time on YouTube. And so as my YouTube channel was growing and I got my first brand deal offer, I went about pricing it the same way that I would for video projects that I was doing for my like local clients. So it's Katie's first ever brand deal. This is back in like 2018, I wanna say. It was gonna be an 8-minute dedicated video. And based on the formula that I was using at the time to price my freelance gigs, I kind of figured out how much time it was gonna take me and then factored in the cost of my editing software, my camera, that kind of stuff. And I came up with a quote for this brand of, I think, $800. Now, at the time I had about 2,500 YouTube subscribers, and if I'm totally real with you, I'm shocked that they agreed to that price. I kind of feel like that brand was early on in their influencer marketing strategy. And I think at the time there was less people doing this kind of content that I do now, like YouTube tips and stuff. And so I think those unique factors allowed me to charge that much because I don't actually think that it was really worth that much. Like I got a really good deal, honestly. But again, it all depends on your audience size, your niche. Like there's no strict rules about any of this. I'm just honestly surprised looking back that I was able to charge that much. Okay, so that was kind of my first brand deal. I realized they would agree to $800 for, again, like an 8-minute dedicated video. It's different than the integrations I do now. But I use that as my base rate for negotiation moving forward. So as I got my next brand deal, I would charge a little bit more, see if they agree to it. If they agreed to it right away, basically I knew I was charging too little. You should expect to negotiate. Fast forward to modern day, now I mostly do 3-month contracts with brands, so I'll agree to do a whole quarter of like monthly integrations with them. And so when we sign that contract, I'll be agreeing to a certain rate for those 3 videos. And then there's a natural negotiation point when the contract comes up and they come back and ask to do another 3 months, then I can say, okay, based on my audience growth and the typical views that I'm getting on my videos now and the performance of our past integrations, my rate will be increasing by X amount. And again, that's an opportunity for negotiation. They don't always agree right away, sometimes they do. And based on the level of like hesitancy that brands have around your pricing, you can get a feel for what is the right rate for you. Okay, so that's been my process, but let's break it down step by step what you can do. You might want to take some screenshots because we're gonna get specific here. Okay, so maybe you don't have the background that I did of being a freelancer. Maybe you've never done a brand deal before. Maybe you've had just a few trade for product things where you've been sent free stuff in exchange for posting. Here's what you're gonna do. The next brand deal request that you get, maybe it's open-ended and they're asking for your rates, or maybe they are straight up offering to give you free product. Either way, you can do this. You're just gonna quote them a number. You're gonna tell them for this type of post, whether it's an Instagram post, a YouTube integration, whatever, for this type of content, I will charge X amount. Even if they're just asking to give you the product, come back and tell them your rate. Now, it doesn't have to be anything crazy here. Like, let's say you're in the range of like 2,000 to 5,000 followers or something. You can start by just quoting like $100 if you're nervous, or you can be bold and charge like $500. Like, just put it out there and see what they say. Just make sure that whatever number you quote, it's something that it feels worth it to you, because the worst thing is agreeing to do a brand deal for way too little money and then feeling resentful about it, because it'll come across in the content and you don't want that. Okay, so if you quote your number, let's say $100, if the brand comes back to you with no negotiation, their first email back is just, sounds great, here's the contract, let's sign on. Basically, you know that you've charged too little, because it's very normal for a brand to come back and say, oh, could we actually do this amount that's like a little bit less? So pretty much they realized they were getting a really good deal, so they were gonna like agree right away. So that's fine, okay? They come back and agree, you've already quoted it, so you're not gonna increase it then, you're gonna do that brand deal. When you have your next opportunity come up, you're gonna take that number that that brand agreed to so quickly, and you're gonna increase it by say 20%. Okay, so for the next like 3 or 4 brand deals that you do, and you keep getting that yes with no negotiation, keep increasing that rate by 20%. If you do that, let's say 4 or 5 times, where you increase it a little bit and they just keep saying yes with no hesitation, when that 6th brand deal comes around and they ask you for your rate, you're gonna take your rate and you're gonna double it. Basically, what we've realized here is you've started with the incremental increases, but your rate is still too low because you're getting yeses way too fast. So you wanna double your rate so you can get closer to what you're actually probably worth. And then I would recommend, if you keep getting those no hesitation yeses, keep doubling it every time until you have somebody try to negotiate. Once you've hit the stage where, let's say half of the brands that reach out to you are trying to negotiate with you, that's when you've reached a good point with your pricing. That's when you know you're probably in the range where you should be. So yay, you found your rate, but it doesn't stop there. You want to keep updating that number like every 2 to 3 months minimum, because not only is your audience gonna be growing, your reach is gonna be growing, and your experience level is increasing. So you're gonna be creating better content that's more effective for your brand partners. So you just wanna make sure that you're steadily increasing that rate. You don't need to double it every 2 to 3 months once you found that good negotiation point. Just increase it like 15 to 20%. I really think this is the best way to go about it, because even though, those first 5 or so brand deals, you'll probably end up undercharging yourself a little bit as you start to figure out what your ideal rate is. But it's okay, because it's experience under your belt, it's portfolio pieces that you can put in your media kit and show the results that you were able to generate, and it's just good practice going through the process. So don't stress out about it, just name a number and start negotiating until you get to that point where about half of your brands are kind of coming back asking for a lower number. That's a good sign that you're in the right range. Okay, so that is the roadmap for pricing your brand deals. But like I was saying earlier, as a content creator, it's so important for us to have multiple streams of income so that you don't have this huge fluctuation. You can keep your paycheck a little more steady. And so I wanted to talk to you about an income stream that I am working on introducing to my business, which is a membership. So this portion of the video is sponsored by Uscreen, because I am currently in the process of building out my own membership using Uscreen. So let me tell you about it and how I'm planning to price it. So first of all, I'm excited about creating a membership because it's gonna be a nice, reliable stream of income. Unlike brand deals that really come and go, or AdSense that's really dependent on how many views I get in a certain month, a membership ideally is like a fixed amount of income that you can come to depend on. And it's a great way to connect with your most dedicated community members. Plus, post some content that I otherwise wouldn't have posted publicly on YouTube. So Uscreen is a platform that allows you to create your own video membership website, as well as mobile app and TV app, so your members can watch your content wherever they want. You can either choose to charge a one-time payment, like for example, for selling a course, or what I'm gonna do, which is charging a monthly recurring membership subscription fee. And essentially what this membership will include is an ever-growing library of exclusive video content. I'm personally planning to share ad-free versions of my YouTube videos, potentially even upload it early, we'll see. I'm gonna share creator masterclasses, so in-depth tutorials on exactly what you all wanna learn about, as well as some episodes of creator confessions where I show you the behind the scenes and kind of share the tea that is too piping hot for for YouTube. And I think I'll even do the occasional live stream. I also love that Uscreen has community features, so you can basically start forums, have conversations, and connect not only with your community members, but your community members can connect with each other. Okay, so if you want to build your own video membership website and app, then you definitely want to check out Uscreen. I'll have it linked in the description below. Okay, so let's talk about how you can determine what to charge for your membership. There are a few important questions that you're going to want to consider. First of all, what would be like a reasonable monthly price that's going to feel affordable to your audience? And second of all, how does that number align with the value that you're going to be able to provide with your exclusive video content? For example, let's just say your ideal audience could reasonably afford like $45 a month. Maybe they own a business and this would be like professional development for them, so it's going to be like a business expense and they have the cash flow to support it. So you're like, okay, $45 a month, that feels reasonable. However, if you only plan on, say, re-uploading your already existing YouTube content just with no ads, that might not really align with the value that people are going to expect for $45 a month. So hopefully you can see what I'm saying. You need to find an alignment between what you think you could reasonably charge and then making sure that you're offering enough so that it feels really worth it. This is of course going to be very different for everyone. I'm personally looking at charging somewhere in the ballpark of $30 a month for my membership, which is going to include all of that exclusive video content, plus probably access to like my Notion templates, my Lightroom presets, and all of that stuff. So it's going to be like a really full resource library for anybody who wants to be a full-time creator. Speaking of which, you can let me know in the comments what you think about all of my membership ideas and what else you'd want to see in a membership, or if that feels like something you would sign up for, because I'd love to hear from you. Okay, so while we're here, let's talk about one more area of your business where you might be struggling to figure out your pricing, and that's digital products. I think part of why it can be so hard to figure out what to charge for this is because ultimately digital products is a relatively new industry. Most of us who are business-minded can understand the rationale behind the pricing for retail goods, right? If you're selling a backpack, for instance, we all understand that there is a price to the raw materials, like let's say the leather or the fabric that you're using to make the backpack. There's a cost to the labor of the people who are constructing that backpack. And of course, there's going to be a cost for shipping it to the store where it's going to be sold. So we all get how that pricing kind of works out, but the same principles don't really apply to digital products, right? Because they just exist on the internet. Now, of course, some of these things transfer over. For example, if you're making like Canva templates and selling those online, you need to factor in the cost of your Canva Pro subscription and the time that it takes you to create them. But you also need to consider another factor. It's kind of harder to quantify, and that is like the value of the idea. So like the intellectual property, basically. Now, this is going to be hard to determine because in some ways it'll always be subjective. But here are a few questions that you can ask yourself to start coming up with a number. Does this product save someone time? How would my ideal customer likely value their time? So maybe in terms of like an hourly rate. In this way, you can figure out how much kind of money you're saving somebody by giving them their time back. Does this product act as advice or consultation? How much would my ideal customer potentially pay a consultant or coach to teach them this information one-on-one? Maybe you're selling an ebook that somebody else might be providing as like an hour of one-on-one coaching. How much would they be charging for that coaching? You can use that to inform what you would charge for your ebook. And finally, does this product help my customer earn money? How much does this stand to help them earn? These are all just examples to kind of get your brain going so you can think about the ways in which you come up with pricing. Of course, in addition to all those questions that help you kind of determine the value that you're offering, you also need to look at what's out there in the market. So ask yourself, how much are my competitors charging for similar products? Asking these questions as well as doing some market research, again, don't be afraid to reach out to your audience and talk with them about your ideas. You can get a more realistic sense of what you might be able to charge. But again, at the end of the day, it's going to be completely unique to you and your audience. For example, I know some photographers who are selling their Lightroom presets for $5. I also know of some photographers who are selling their Lightroom presets for $100. What's the difference here? They have different audiences who value these things differently and who maybe have different budgets. So really, depending on your audience's income levels, goals, and priorities, it's gonna completely shift how much you might be able to charge. If you're really struggling, if your audience at all has any overlap with like you and your own income level, goals, priorities, you can ask yourself like, what would I pay for this if somebody else was selling it? I personally use that as a litmus test for how much I'm comfortable charging for things like my digital products or my course, the Instagram roadmap, because I have personally purchased digital products and purchased online courses, and I would never want to price it for something that's like way outside of my own comfort zone for purchasing, because I just wouldn't feel good about that. So I personally also price things based on like, what would I feel good about paying for this? So you can use that as a test as well. And that's really the ultimate secret to pricing all of this stuff. It is so unique to you, your business, and your audience. So there really isn't a cookie cutter approach that you can take. But hopefully I've been able to talk you through some of the questions you can ask and processes you can go through to figure out the right numbers for you. But ultimately it's gonna take a lot of experimenting and experience. If you wanna learn more about the financial side of running an online business like mine, I actually made a video all about how I decided what to pay myself. So if you wanna know why I pay myself $36,000 a year when my business is making a lot more than that, I explain it in this video. So go check that out next. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having adventures and following your dreams, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.